everybody. I'm Meghan McGrogan with the Greater Utica Chamber of Commerce. Thank you so much for joining us on the Leveling Up Social Distancing series. So if you're just tuning in, these episodes are a little bit shorter than our regular podcast. And really, these are serving as a way for you to get to know our members during this time where things are pretty uncertain and looking a little bit different for a lot of us. So we want to let you know how you can access our members and businesses in the Greater Utica area while we're all kind of a little bit apart. So hopefully you're enjoying these, and please make sure that you check out all of the previous episodes. We've done a lot of them so far, and we hope that you're finding these really useful to get to know people. So this morning I have a person with me who is no stranger to the Utica business community and no stranger to the chamber at all. This is Steve Karboski, and Steve is a funeral director, and he's also a part of our Catalyst Young Professionals group. So Steve, thank you so much for joining me.
Yeah, Megan, thanks for having me this morning. I really appreciate it. And, kudos to everybody at the chamber and everything you're doing. Everything that you've done and put out there has been really beneficial and really helpful for the community. And to be able to have that and to support and to show the value of what a chamber like our caliber can do during these times is really great. So I'm happy to be on and to talk about what we do.
Thank you, Steve. I appreciate the compliments.
Yeah.
So tell everybody if somebody doesn't know you. So where do you work? What do you guys do? I think funeral director is pretty, explanatory, but, talk a little bit about what sets you guys apart from other funeral directors in the area.
Sure. So I'll start from the beginning. My name is Steve Karboski, like you said. I'm a funeral director here at McGrath, Myslinski, Karboski, and Nunn Funeral Directors, right here on a French Road, centrally located in the great city of Utica. We are a family of funeral directors who look to help people during their most difficult time. Somebody asked me the other day, what book are you reading? What's going on? And, I'm reading Simon Sinek's book, Start With Why. And I think that is the definition of what sets us apart here at our funeral home is we always start with why. What we do is not about the cars or the money or anything like that. It's about taking care of people during the most difficult time and looking to, sort of piece them back together and make them whole through the process of grief, whether we're with them a day, 5 days, whatever that might be. So as they look to, get back to their reality or their norm, we've helped them do that. So that's sort of what we do in a nutshell. And like you say, everybody knows what a funeral home does, so I don't have to go into that. But we've really been impacted differently, in this current time period. That's for sure.
Yeah, so I would encourage, so Steve, you were a guest on my regular show, which, prior to all this aired bi-weekly, and we did it live in the studio. So if you guys want to get to know more about everything that, the funeral home does and every service that you guys provide, we go in depth on that. And also you can get to know Steve a little bit better. So you can check that out. I can't remember what episode number it is at this point, but if you go to greateruticachamber.org and you click on the podcast, you can go back and look at that episode to get to know you a little bit.
It was right before Thanksgiving, and I wore an awesome jacket with an awesome tie, and I was super sore because I had just joined the gym.
Yeah.
So I hope that my neckline looks a little thinner in this episode. Shout out to John and everybody there. But yeah, that's great. And I know that we're limited on time, so I just want to jump right in to what's happening. I will say that a month ago now, we were dealt with handling things in real time. The governor's office and the CDC had gone from saying you have gatherings of 500 people to gatherings of 50 people or less within a very short period of time. And, we had calling hours, funerals set for that week. So that Monday that we went back to work, we had to not only deal with current situations of families coming in that week to calling people saying, we need to rerun your obituary saying that it is now private per the CDC, per the governor's office, which is unheard of. We've, as far as I know, we've never canceled funerals. We've had snowstorms. We've had, floods, and, the show must go on. It was really strange. And we went from Monday morning saying this is not real to Monday evening, a full day saying we are in the depths of this, and everybody across the board, across the state, across the country, the world was affected by it. So that led to webinars and updates, and then it went from 50 people to, no gatherings of 10 or more. And, right now, so I'm sitting in one of our funeral parlors that's split in half. We have dividers. And so on the other side is currently where we're having any private viewings. So we've gone from, public gatherings to private 10 or less, whether it's here at the funeral home or whether it's at a church. If churches are willing to do that, everything's private. But we're trying to figure out the best way to say goodbye in a safe way. Whether it's here at the funeral home, this parlor that I'm in right now, you can't see it, but it's filled with chairs that are, that are folded up, because in the other parlor, we only have, about, 9 of them, so it's really changed how we look to assist people. And the funeral business, although it, so people might look at it as sad, it's a very personal touch. It's very personal. We hug, we shake hands. Everybody who came to our place for business after hours, that was a very fun thing. But the way that we greet everyone is the same way that we greet our friends and our families. Maybe we might not have the smiles on, but we know those people. They're in our community. They're our friends. So to not be able to shake someone's hand, to be able to give them a hug, has really changed the face of, we joke that we're waving from a distance like the Pope. We have our gloves on, our personal protective equipment, and every day we talk about, what are we going to do? How are we going to handle this? Does someone have an email that can sign paperwork on that? Can we send you an obituary? And the biggest thing, the biggest change that we've had is, technology is a wonderful thing. So we've done Zoom meetings with families to be able to join in and to be able to say, you have 10, 15 people on that, and to watch the service and to be able to see their loved one, not physically, but virtually. Pat, one of our other funeral directors here, he's done a really great job at doing our social media posts, and he's done a really great job at recording, whether it's graveside services or whether it's a service at church. And in the past, we never really thought about that. That was sort of taboo, recording that. But I think going forward, this has become a part of the keepsake that you can have. So before, it might have been a laminated prayer card or an obituary or a keepsake urn or something along those lines that people kept. To be able to have a service, whether it's a graveside military service or a church service, that you can go back and rewatch year after year or month after month, whatever it might be, people are really finding that to be helpful. And, we're reaching people far and wide, and, we're sort of letting people know that after the fact. So it's sort of a pleasant surprise to say, you've done that. That's really great. We really appreciate that.
Well, I think it's really tough. I think during this whole time, it like you said, it's so unnatural that normally we're embracing and we're all together, and it's part of the grieving process, right? And we covered a little bit of this on the other podcast, the show that we did. But, it's really a time where, you want to be together, you want to be comforted, and it's a process, right? And so what I keep thinking about is how difficult it must be for those who are losing loved ones and they don't have that closure of a service and that closure of, being together with family. I mean, I think, Ryan's grandma passed away throughout all this too. I mean, it's just really tough because you just want to be together and we're all apart. So I have to give you guys a lot of credit because, it's probably a really difficult thing just mentally for you to say, we're going to record somebody or we're going to have a family on a Zoom. It's probably tough for you guys to get through, but I'd imagine just like everybody else, this is really an opportunity for you to look at, how could we do things differently in the future, to make it easier on families. And I think it's all part of, what you guys do best. And we covered this on the show too, which is making people feel comforted and, that they're at ease during this time because you provide that ease for them by, taking a lot of the worry away from the planning and everything. So. Exactly.
It's so difficult because typically the funeral business and what we do, the word no is not part of our vocabulary. But from the beginning of the arrangement process, we're having to say to people, per CDC, per everything, we are not able to have at this time. So we're trying to be very creative on how we help people grieve. We know that we can still gather privately, 10 people or less. That's what we're saying here at the funeral home, because that's the capacity of safety that we want to have people exposed to. If it's at church, and if it's, you know, a massive church and you could be 6 feet apart, maybe we'll have 11 or 12, but we're trying to keep to that number that is safe for people. And we're saying, you know, you have to wear masks and gloves because we are as well. But people are still able to say goodbye, although, like you say, you're not able to be together. You know, Megan, in our previous podcast, you know, we talked about your family, and, you know, we know all of them. And, you know, we're like second family to them. So, you know, every time I see your mom, I give her a big hug, and it's like I saw her yesterday. You know, she's an awesome lady. So if I was to see her now and not give her a hug, it's a weird sensation.
Yeah, it almost makes it that much more difficult, you know.
And we have found that we are more entrenched with our families because we are their immediate support. You know, so we're with them, you know, more now on the phone. If they're here, you know, they're talking to us for that hour from a distance while they're together. Whereas before, we might talk and make a plan. If there's calling hours, we say, well, here's what we're going to do. You go ahead. We'll talk to you when this is all over. And then things happen. You know, so, you know, to be there for our families is a wonderful thing. You know, I know that, you know, knock on wood, we're lucky here in the Mohawk Valley to not be hit by the broad spectrum of deaths brought by coronavirus. Pat and I both know several funeral homes and funeral directors down near the city that are just inundated.
Oh, I'm sure.
And, you know, it's a different type of service that they're doing. You know, if you really think about it, you know, which we try not to, we try and stay positive the best that we can. You know, that can affect the way that you do things, think about things. You know, we are ready to handle that if that does happen. You know, we hope and pray that we don't see an uptick in those deaths. But, you know, we're constantly cleaning the funeral home. You know, everything we touch, we're wearing masks, we're wearing gloves, we're keeping a safe distance from people. You know, we're looking to do the best that we can during a difficult time. And, you know, you and I had talked before this, and you probably would ask that, but, you know, what can people do to help ease their burden? You know, we have found that during this time, I'll say, lack of a better word, the easiest conversations we have had are with people who are prearranged.
Pre-planned.
You know, pre-planning. So that's putting your wishes down before the death occurs, whether you do it now at 55 or you're looking to downsize in your house, you're looking to start an irrevocable trust for your family, whatever that might be. Pre-planning could be as simple as putting your wishes down to looking to fund your funeral. Whether that's putting money away or with an insurance assignment, whatever that might be. You know, so we have found that that's the best, because then we say, for instance, you know, Mrs. Jones, your husband's wishes were to have this casket, this vault, go to this church. We can view him there privately for a private service. Or he didn't want to go to church, but you can view him here before he goes to have a cremation one more time. You know, so that really eases people. And then it takes the time that, you know, we have this big conversation, and it funnels it down to, when are we going to do it? How are we going to do it? How does the obituary look? And then we send, you know, DocuSign paperwork, which is a blessing for us.
Yeah, and I think that's really important, you know, and again, if people look at the other episode, they'll see that we're both big Dave Ramsey fans, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So one of the things that Ryan and I have been very grateful throughout all of this is, you know, we have planned for emergencies, you know, not as much as I think we would have liked to, but we've at least had conversations about it, and we've at least, you know, started the process of creating an emergency fund. And this kind of goes along with that, because you know, you never know, like if you dial back, you know, a month and a half ago, I don't think any of us would have imagined we would be where we are today. I mean, it's sometimes I wake up, I'm like, okay, this is not a dream. This is not a nightmare. Like, this is actually happening.
Yeah.
So I think if people kind of take that from finances all the way down to planning for, your end of life, I think that's really, it takes the burden off, it kind of just, I think will take a weight off of your shoulders. Although a lot of people don't like to talk about this stuff. I think, you have to think of what your loved ones will go through when they're put in this scenario. And, like you said, we haven't seen a surge yet. We could. And I think if people think about this a little bit ahead of time, you guys make it so easy, in my opinion. And like we talked about in the other show, you guys are like second family to us. I don't know if it's a good thing or a bad thing, but,
Yeah.
we have experience working with you multiple times. And, I just think that you guys really put families at ease. So I think if people are interested, they should reach out to you. How can they get in touch with you guys to do all of that right now if they want to think ahead a little bit?
So there's a couple different venues. We have a ton of literature here at the funeral home that we'd be willing to mail, to drop off, whatever that is. So some people are very nervous about talking about it, but it's just like a conversation like we're having. What's your name? What's your address? Where were you born? Some background, vital statistical information to help us put together a death certificate. And then that goes into what your wishes are. I want to have a mass. I want to have calling hours. And those are, and it's not a serious conversation because it's about the future. And we say, this is 20 years down the road. And sometimes we have, people who are 85 doing it. And they said, yeah, Steve, I'm going to be 105 when, you're, yeah, right. And so, we laugh about that. So we have that. We have, of course, we're always available here at the funeral home 24/7. If people wanted to call us, we could have that conversation over the phone. That's a very easy conversation. And then, last but not least, you could do it from the comfort of your couch on our website. If you go to www.mmknft.com, you could just click to pre-plan. There's a ton of information in there. And then you scroll down and it says, pre-plan, and click here. You click it. It's a bunch of questions that you ask, background information that gets emailed to us, and we do a follow-up phone call if you want to be followed up. And then we just go from there. It's super easy. It's super simple. And, we understand there's a lot of taboo with people who say, oh, I don't want to talk about death, but, we're just talking about information. So any way that we could be helpful, we're here, we're available. And we're just trying to make things, easier for people as we move along in these unprecedented times.
Yep. And I think the other important part is you guys do have a sense of humor. So
yeah, we do. Absolutely.
And that's important too. Yep. That's important.
Yeah. You have to laugh.
One last time, Steve, run everybody through all the contact information. And I don't want to forget your Facebook page too, because I think you guys have been doing a great job at putting some resources on there. So give us the rundown.
Okay, so you're always welcome to reach out to us here at McGrath, Myslinski, Karboski Nunn Funeral Directors. You can call us 315-797-1900. That gets us directly. We have someone here during the day. Then we have an answering service that goes directly to myself or Pat or Chris McGrath. You're welcome to look us up on our Facebook page. Please give us a like, give us a follow. There's a ton of content on there. And then you can always find us on our website at www.mmknft.com. Ton of information there about who we are, what we do, and we're available in all platforms to reach out to people.
That's great. Well, thank you so much, Steve, for joining me, and I really appreciate this conversation. I hope everybody finds it really helpful. As we said on our other show, a tough topic, but it's something necessary we need to talk about, and so I appreciate you sharing today, and I hope everybody finds it valuable.
Yeah, thank you, Megan.
All right. Have a good day.
Bye.